Hey everybody, welcome to another Bancroft Brothers animation podcast. Tony, how you doing?
Yes, I'm doing good, Tom. Good to see you. Yeah, we're two twin brothers, worked at Disney for many years, love animation, love talking about it even more. Well, I don't know. Do you love talking about your animation more than doing it?
Yes, I do. Animation's hard. So yeah, I'd rather
It
talk
is.
about it.
It's so much easier talking about it. And we like to talk to cool people about it too. And we got a cool guest for you guys today too. So
Howdy, y'all.
howdy, y'all. Just like
Uh,
animation, y'all. We got to do a shout out for that, Tom, too. By the time this podcast releases, we will have opened the portal. The forms are available to apply to be an in-betweener. That's right.
Oh, yeah, because we've already opened it for exhibitors and they are filling up fast. So if you want to be an exhibitor, go there now. I think we're half sold out, I think, or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, we still have, because we're expanding, we're going to be larger, so we do have more tables this time.
And we do have
and what's an
tickets
in-betweener?
available. We're doing pre-sales also too, Tom. That's what we're saying. And I say pre-sales because it's a discounted rate. So it's like our early bird special is happening right now. You better get onto that if you want the cheaper price, because rates will go up in October, about mid-October. Same thing with these forms for the in-betweeners, and those are our volunteers. We get young artists and old artists sometimes to apply to be a volunteer. And what you get is for 4 hours of kind of service work to do, help out with running the animation expo. You get 4 hours free at the expo. So it's a great trade-off,
and
right?
payment.
And that's right. And we pay Tennessee minimum wage. So that's always a good thing.
Which is probably high. I've never made it. But
if you work in California, it might be disappointing, but but it's what we live off of here in Tennessee anyway, so that's good.
And I remember last year, a lot of because it's our second year. The first year was a huge success, sold out a couple weeks before the event even happened. So that's another reason why not to wait. But as I remember, a lot of those in-betweeners would get their money that day for working that day, and they'd immediately go spend it on vendors and Lightbox, which is, I think, pretty wise.
And our next guest, I'm sure, will be there in a very splashy way at this year's April 10th through the 12th, April of next year at our Animation Expo in Nashville, Tennessee. Let me introduce to you guys somebody that's been a friend for a long time, somebody I really believe in, somebody that has really shown us how to run a small indie animation studio because he's been doing it so long. He's the founder. He is the CEO and the CCO, Chief Creative Officer of Brazen Animation. We have with us today Bryan Engram. Let's hear it,
Bryan.
Hey. Howdy, y'all from Texas. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you howdy. Yeah.
I already committed. Now, I hope you like that. I committed.
Exactly.
Now, Bryan,
I love it.
I know you Texans say howdy, but do you say y'all too, or is that more Southern?
Oh no, y'all is that's every sentence almost. So
I thought the Canadian. I asked that for our Canadian friends. They don't know.
Yeah,
you're right. Exactly.
Out there. Yes.
Yeah.
But
y'all on barbecue and all that good stuff. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, that's why Tennessee and Texas is so similar in a lot of ways, because our food, our carnivore ways are very similar, and then our speech patterns are very similar too. I don't know what else. Maybe it ends there, but certainly our love for 2D animation is the same because, Bryan, I got to know. I was telling Tom offline here before we started that I got to know you and Brazen Animation from a good old friend of ours, Chuck Peel, who was at Real Effects. And I remember talking to Chuck about 2D animation, my love for it. We used to go to China together. It's a long story. I can't even get into it. It's just so crazy. But Chuck and I used to go on trips together to China, and we'd have lots of time together in these minivans as we're going
just
from
the two
place to place. We had a group. There was a whole group. Okay. It was a group of animation artists and stuff in China. I made Mulan, Tom. I don't know if you heard. I directed Mulan, and so
oh no, you have mentioned it for at least.
I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends, great friends, wonderful friends in China. A lot of animators and artists and stuff like that. There's a community of artists out there. It's great. Anyway, Chuck Peel, got to know him. He kept mentioning his friend Bryan, who left Real Effects to go over and start his own Brazen Animation. It was a brazen thing, right?
Was
he
angry at Bryan? Was that why he kept bringing it up?
No, brazen is like brave, right, Bryan?
Yeah, absolutely. It's being bold without being shamelessly bold. That's the dictionary definition. I could tell you why I named it brazen later, but that is the idea of being bold. So
do it now. Tell us why.
Okay, get right into it.
Okay, all right, awesome. All right, so brazen comes from, in the Old Testament, the brazen altar. It's where you bring your best to God. So it's this idea of all of us have talents. You two obviously have very gifted, very talented, and this idea of bringing your gifts and talents to God, bring your very best to God. And so brazen is the brazen altar where we bring it. Our colors are black and white. So the idea there is that it's the canvas from which our talents can pop off the canvas. Our logo is a flame. And the flame, if you remember, that the priest could not let the flame go out on the brazen altar. So it's this never-ending flame that never goes out. And then our character is Ignatius, or Iggy, as we call him. And he's a flame character. And, Ignatius, that word means the flame bearer. Oh. And a lot of people don't know this as well. But, Ignatius of Antioch, that person, that an elder in church history, it is rumored that he was one of the children when Jesus says, come to me, don't forbid the children, come to me. And the children that came and sat on his lap.
Yeah.
Ignatius was one of the children, supposedly, that came to sit on his lap. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
A lot of meaning.
You really thought that through. Yeah. You put it.
I feel like you're creating a show or something like that.
Let me tell you how I came up with Pencilish. Okay. I just started putting things into there and I'd put .com afterwards. And if there was a .com already taken, I'd go on to the next. And so I just had to make up a word. And that's what I did.
But there's somewhat of a love of 2D animation behind Pencilish too.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So it was based on something a little deeper.
But not near as deep as
Bryan. He wins. He wins the depth award. But so Bryan, you tell us a little bit about how this started. So you were at Real Effects, and you, like us, grew up just wanting to animate, right? So tell us first about some of your influences that got you in animation, and then how you found yourself at Real Effects, and then ultimately what started Brazen.
Oh, I love that question. That's great. Okay, so I'll start with my mom. My mom was a theater teacher. My mom was a theater director. I actually grew up watching my mom direct plays, Shakespeare, Beowulf. I mean, everything you can imagine, she did. Now, we were very, very poor. So that was an interesting, I grew up in government apartments, government housing. So we were very poor. Single mother. And so it was very interesting growing up because my mom would actually stop movies and she would go, okay, Bryan, watch the acting here. Check out this there. And then,
wow.
And so it was a strange upbringing that way. And then my grandparents, very devout Christians. My grandfather was an elder in actually a couple of churches. We never went to church growing up, but when I got to go visit my grandparents, I'd get to go to church. And I was always drawing in church. So
oh, you're one of those kids.
Yes. So I always sort of associated my faith and art, and somehow those things came together.
Cool. Yeah.
So eventually, fast forward, I acted in college. I was on an acting scholarship, and my degree was in art. So somewhere along the way, those two things converged, and I was like, wait a second. So acting and art, wait, what is that? And I watched the behind the scenes of Toy Story or something like that. And of course, my favorite movie of all time was Lion King. And I was like,
there you go.
And I was like, wait a second.
We worked on that.
No, I know. I realize who I'm talking to. Yes, absolutely. So, I was basically I was like, wow, so you can do this for a living. This is crazy. I can't believe this. And so, I was basically teaching myself animation. I didn't know anyone in school. I grew up in Texas. There weren't really any places to learn. So I was trying to teach myself. I was taking on, not online classes at that time. It was books and tutorials and whatever I could get my hands on. I eventually made my way into Real Effects. So Real Effects, in Dallas, Texas, there was DNA Productions, which did Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they'd gotten really big. And I was trying to get into that studio. Meanwhile, Real Effects was small at the time. They were probably 20, 25 people at that time.
Oh.
And so I was bugging DNA, but then I started going, well, you know, if I can't get into DNA, they started doing Jimmy Neutron. And I was like, man, I want to get in. But like I said, I was self-taught. My portfolio was basically just whatever I taught myself at that time. And I was able to get a 3-month unpaid internship at Real Effects at the time.
Wow.
And got in, only had enough money to last us a month. My wife and I. So I wasn't going to last a full 3 months. That wasn't going to happen.
Oh man.
And so I was doing everything. I was changing the light bulbs. I was building desks. I was, and then they were giving me entire Hasbro like Hot Wheels commercials. I remember I did an entire commercial by myself. It was like,
what?
I did the camera and the animation and because you have to remember, since I was self-taught, I didn't understand what I was supposed to learn. So I just taught myself everything, like modeling and rigging and all that stuff.
Right. You thought that, that's how it worked. You had to know all of it, right?
But I mean, being a jack of all trades like you were, that's perfect for a small startup studio.
Exactly.
Like Real Effects. They must have loved that.
No, it was great. And so I was praying a lot, and I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? We don't have any money. And so I eventually I was getting prepared to go talk to the owner of the company at the time about, hey, I don't know if I can make it anymore. I don't know if I can continue. My wife and I can't afford to live. And before I could go talk, I was actually going to talk to him that day. And before I could make it to his office, he came and he knocked on my desk. He said, hey, come talk to me.
Dang. Wow.
And so I went up and I met with him, and he said, well, Bryan, he goes, I really like your work ethic a lot. I said, okay, I appreciate that. He said, you want to be an animator, is that right? I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, you're not very good. I said, okay.
Oh, yeah. you're great at the toilets. The toilets are super clean.
Super clean. Yes.
Thanks for coming in.
Exactly.
See you later.
He goes, but I believe you will be good. And so he goes, now you know camera, because my degree was in art and film. So he goes, camera, composition, the software. I taught myself Maya, the software. We had just won a direct-to-DVD movie for Hasbro, which was a G.I. Joe direct-to-DVD movie at the time.
Oh,
and he said, I'll start you off as a junior layout artist. And so that's where I started. And then what I would do is I would do layout during the day, and I'd go home at night and I'd practice animation. So and then I would bring it up the next day, and I'd get feedback and show people. Well, at one point in there, Keith Lango came in. And he joined Real Effects, right?
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, Ken Duncan came in,
right,
and joined Real Effects.
He's an old friend of ours from the Disney days.
Yes,
right. And I know Keith from the Big Idea days. Yeah,
right, absolutely. So between Keith and then Ken, here I was, this junior, layout artist, junior animator, getting trained. And definitely became like my animation mentors. And
great.
Yeah, amazing. And so I had this. It was so funny because Ken would not let me use the graph editor in the in Maya, and so he's like, no, they're all just drawings. They're all drawings. That's what they are. So so basically, that was, being taught.
Are you saying that he was doing it frame by frame, basically?
Oh yeah.
Making every single frame a key, basically.
Correct. In the computer, like every frame in the computer in Maya was a draw. It was considered a drawing.
Well, that's a very slow way to work, and you can often end up with. This is a little bit I know. I got trained on VeggieTales to be a computer animator, so this is not. I'm not in depth in this, but they would always say to me, "Is like, oh no, you don't want to have every key a frame." Like that, because you get clunky and then it makes it hard to smooth it out. Because basically now you have to by hand smooth it out.
Right? Yeah, it's like animating straight ahead instead of pose to pose, right?
Correct. Exactly.
You can lose control of it pretty quickly. But for those listening at home, real quick, Ken Duncan, 2D animator for the most part, but had trained himself to do CG animation. And then Keith Largo, mostly CG animator.
Lango.
Right? Lango, mostly a CG animator. So you were kind of being trained with different philosophies, really, in animation, right?
Absolutely. And I will say I'm very proud because, to your point, we were when Ken had stripped it, when he told us we couldn't use the graph editor anymore, and we were all struggling a little bit because it was like it was very jittery. You know, the animation was jittery and all over the place. And so then we started going in, and we would do everything. I mean, as far as we could possibly take it. And then we go in and we start going to graph editor and just start smoothing some stuff out. And then Ken wrote me, he goes, why has this gotten so much better all of a sudden? And I said, because we finally went in and used the graph editor, Ken.
We used it the way it was designed.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, but it was great because the company grew drastically during that period of time. Right. So I was, junior animator, then I was a senior animator, then I was a animation supervisor, then I was animation director. And one of the greatest things for me was, Ken came in as my animation director and trained me. And then by the time he left, eventually he started his own studio, Duncan Studios in Pasadena. Mm-hmm. But when he left, we were both supervising together. So we were on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, and he would take a sequence, I would take a sequence, he would take a sequence, I would take a sequence. So that was one of the greatest things, is getting to grow under him and then getting to supervise along with him.
He's peer. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was great. Well, your studio, let's get into that, because so that was your days at Real Effects. Mm-hmm. How long were you there before all of a sudden this new Brazen idea came to your mind?
Well, what's interesting is that, again, I'm going to tie it because you guys we're more entwined than you realize. So
we're all bald.
We're all bald.
I mean, yes,
totally. Yeah.
Yes. There could be a Bancroft.
Our glasses are very similar. So when I was still an unpaid intern at Real Effects, we actually went to lunch, and remember, a bunch of those big idea guys had come in. So like Keith had come in, Tim Lannon had come in, a bunch of those guys had come in to the studio, and they were going around the room, and we were talking about, what do you want to do one day? So remember, I'm still an unpaid intern at this point. Like, what do you want to do one day? And I actually said, this was in 2003. I said, well, I would love to build a studio one day that told inspirational, God-honoring, faith content, but at a really high quality level, like really, really.
Yeah.
So I put that out there at that lunch. I still remember at that lunch, I kind of put that out there. And so it just sort of just stayed with me the whole time.
Did they all laugh? They're like, get back to work.
Get back to work. He's like, intern, go get a light bulb and go. Yeah. But that just sort of stayed with me. So as I grew at Real Effects, we got to eventually 600 people while I was there, and obviously knew Chuck Peel really well. And I got to bid on projects, go on sales calls. I got to do a bunch of stuff when I was at Real Effects. I ran roughly, of the 600, I was responsible for roughly half the studio. So I was director of studio animation. So it was art, modeling, rigging, layout, animation were the departments that I was in charge of.
Yeah.
So I got exposed to a lot. And then that thing that had been implanted in me all that time, that vision for what would I eventually do with my life and career. In 2012, I was animation director on the Minion Mayhem ride at Universal Studios. And at that point, I decided to put my notice in and leave and start Brazen. And with this idea of telling stories with meaning and purpose, and that can mean something to the world and touch the soul. And so that's what we've been doing.
Amazing.
Did you have funding? I mean, that must have been a scary change. Again, your wife is probably going, what? I don't know if I'm ready for this.
I mean, and it sounds like you left a good job. They didn't kick you out, or they weren't shutting down, right?
No, absolutely. They in fact, they told me that. So, Real Effects is owned by a billionaire, Tom Kartsotis. He owns Fossil Watches, or built Fossil Watches. Oh. And he told me when I left, he's like, why are you leaving? What are you doing? You got a lifetime membership here if you want it. And I was like, Tom, I've got to go do this thing. I've got to go do it. And so
that's nice.
So yeah, so I've been saving money. So my wife, it was funny. I was teaching online at Animation Mentor, and I was teaching 2 classes. Plus, I had my job at Real Effects, and I was doing that. And I was basically just hoarding money, and I was preparing myself because I knew I was going to go do this thing.
Wow.
And I prepared my wife for it, and I said, listen, I may come home one day and have put in my notice at Real Effects. I just want you to know, and don't be surprised if that happens. So sure enough, that's what happened. I came home one day and I said, hey, I put my notice in today. And
today was that day I told you about.
Right. She's like, this is the day I feared.
So it sounds like you're just sort of waiting for that moment, and it somehow came along, huh?
It did.
Today's the day.
Today was the day. I mean, it's hard to explain. I mean, you guys know, but I walked in that day. It wasn't necessarily planned, honestly. I walked in that day. I sat down my computer. I logged in, and I just felt this overwhelming sense of like, today's the day.
Wow.
And I got up and I went to my boss was the co-CEO at the time, and I went up to his office and I knocked on the door and I said, hey, it's time for me to go. And so he
and was this like, I'm giving you my 2 weeks, or were you gone that day?
No, you know, it's funny. I was giving my 2 weeks, but they said, hey, we still need your help on some stuff. And so I gave my notice in February, and I didn't leave till May.
Oh,
wow. So every month they kept coming and saying, hey, can you stay another month? Can you stay another month? Can you stay another month?
They made it hard for you to leave.
Yes.
Well,
so.
Did you have a project? Yeah. It was probably good to have a long transition like that too, for saying goodbye to people and all that.
Well, ask your question, Tony, but I have a question after that.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Did you have a project already lined up for Brazen? Did you have a client? Did you start doing your own stuff first, or work for hire?
So I had a short film that I was working on that I still have not finished yet, but we still have that short film. But I started on a short film, and then I had a lot of people from Real Effects that were like, they were very excited about what I was trying to do, and they were helping me. So a lot of them eventually came over to Brazen. But I had a lot of people knew that I'd left Real Effects, and they started sending me text messages or like Facebook messages. And one of them was my eventual business partner, who he had built an architecture visualization studio that did like architecture renderings and things like that. And he's like, hey, what are you doing? I heard you left Real Effects. What are you doing? Would you go to breakfast? So we went to breakfast, and I pitched him the short that I was working on, again, that I will eventually finish. But pitched him the short, and he started crying at breakfast. And I told him, he said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm building this studio, and this short is going to be our first thing. And he's like, well, I would love to. He's a Christian, and he's like, I believe in what you're trying to do. I would love to do it with you. And so we did a handshake. We decided to partner that day, and or that week. And so our first client, actually, besides working on the short, our first client was the Dallas Mavericks.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you do for them?
We started doing the Jumbotron stuff, like animation for the.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're like Dirk and all their players. We were doing like animations for all those guys. And so
that's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. Okay. I got to stop for a second and ask you an important question.
Did you have to go to the restroom, Tom? Are you okay? Do you need a
you guys hang out? I'll see you in a bit. Okay. No, but this is it's a little deeper question, but I think you like going deep. So I'm hearing oftentimes you saying, one, you grew up poor.
Yes.
And so there you were used to seeing, surviving very lean and seeing your mom go through that. Then you get married and you're very lean and you don't have a job. And I guess you're taking on like an unpaid internship too, I guess, right? During that time.
Right.
And then here you are now, I'm leaving a good job and I'm going to start my own thing. And there's not really any safety nets. I mean, it sounds like when you left, at least you didn't have a gig. You didn't have a job that was motivating this, which would be money too, or an investor, it sounds like. So is little Bryan, who grew up poor, do you feel like you're more afraid of being poor again? Or does that make you more fearless about money? Because you're like, I know I can live lean and still be happy. Or is it the opposite? I never want to go back to that again.
That's great. I think it has caused me to. So there is are you guys familiar with a personality test called Culture Index by chance?
No.
Okay. So we have Culture Index in our company. It's it's not like Myers-Briggs. I mean, it's deeper than that. So this will answer the question. So when they did my personality test and it came back, the profile that I have is called the Daredevil.
Oh, makes sense.
Okay. You're a risk taker.
I'm a risk taker. So yeah. So to your point, Tom, for whatever reason, that thing that happened to me of being poor and growing up poor. Of course, I don't think anybody wants to be poor.
Yeah.
No.
But I think that it did allow me to realize that, wow, taking risk and taking chances, great things can happen by doing that. And so it's maybe not as fearful as maybe I should be.
Yeah.
Of just taking risks. And so it's, like, look, I called the company Brazen. So being bold. I mean, it's just, I guess it's part of my personality. I don't know, but I think you're right. Yeah. I think it started when I was a young kid. And yeah.
So it's a great answer. Plus you have your faith. And I know that's another thing that you could easily speak on as far as like, no, I trusted that God would have something for me on the other side.
Correct.
If this was something that I was praying for, and then I felt like he was leading me to. So I love that part of the story. You didn't say that, but I know that's what you're also thinking.
Well, and I truncated this part of the story that I can go back just for a second, but there's something that happened when I got the job at Real Effects. Was I was working at Smoothie King. I was making smoothies. So I graduated college and I'll teach myself animation. I was working at Smoothie King, and I was making. I'd been offered the job of being the store manager, making $32,000 a year. Wow. And my boss was opening up another Smoothie King. That's why he wanted me to run the current one. And it was within that period that I got an email from Real Effects saying, "Would you come in for an unpaid internship?" So I went to him, and his name was Todd. He was a Christian, and I told him, I said, "Todd, I need you to let me pray on this, so that I just really need to pray on it, because I felt like it was something that I should do." Actually, I messed up the punchline of this story, but what had happened was I got an email saying, "Would you come in?" And I had prayed the night before that email came about, God, just tell me what you want me to do with my life. And so I did not know whether to accept that job at Smoothie. Like, am I going to be the Smoothie King guy, or what am I going to be? And so I prayed on it. And then the next morning I got an email from Real Effects. "Would you come in for an unpaid internship?" And so God has done that like many times through my life. Like, it's not always about audibly hearing from God, but there have been these things, I call them signs. I call them the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. But it's basically, God has shown up over and over and over again. And so you are right. You're right, Tom. Like, I think God has always taken care of me. And so for that reason, it's allowed me to be fearless in a lot of the ways that I've approached my life.
Fearless. That's an awesome word for it. By the way, for those that are watching the video, I have an allergy and it's making my eyeball itch and water. So for the video people, I'm just saying that because
he looks horrible.
My face is melting right now.
so you know, it literally looks like he's crying and melting.
And I keep like
right. But one side is beautiful though, Tom. Like this is one side.
Yeah,
this is the side that looks like, that shot from Indiana
Jones. Well, this is the side that looks like Tony. That's Tom. Yeah, the good looking one.
Well, Bryan, how many years? Brazen. How many? You said it probably, and I must have missed it.
No. 11 years now, officially 11 years.
Yeah. Oh, I thought we were doing the podcast for the 10th anniversary. Doggone, we just missed it.
Yeah.
Well, you have an incredible breadth of work that you've done. From your original stuff, and I did click on your website to see some originals, so I see the work in progress of that short that you're doing, and you must be talking about this one called, and everybody go to brazenanimation.com, and Tempest is the short that you're working on. Is that correct?
So actually Tempest, so the reason
that's a feature film.
That's a feature, exactly. No, so 2B is the short that we haven't finished yet.
Okay.
So that's what we started with. But the reason why we haven't finished that short is because we pivoted to Tempest. And
Tempest looks beautiful.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And so Tempest is the one where we submitted it to Angel Studios a couple of years ago, and then we got the torch. The torch award is like where the guild gets the vote for Angel, and so we have a distribution deal with Angel Studios, and the idea now is that we want to raise money, obviously, for Tempest. So we are working through that right now with Angel.
Well, there you go, and that's all CG animation. But you have like equal parts in your work. That's amazing because there's some really great 2D animation projects, commercials, things like that, and then also some really great CG stuff and a lot of video game stuff. It seems. When did you guys jump into video games?
That's been so interesting because we started doing a lot of cinematic work for video games. Like CG pre-rendered cinematics. Then we started doing 2D cinematics. Then they started saying, "Hey, can you work in Engine? Can you work in like Unreal? Can you work in Unity? Can you work in?" So we started getting asked by the game studios to work in Engine. Then they were like, "Well, we love your animation so much. Can you actually do cycles in the game itself? Can you actually do like the cycles of the games?" And that just sort of evolved into where like all of a sudden we knew how to make games. And my good friend SD Smith, he is a very prolific children's book author. He has a series called The Green Ember, and it's for that sort of 6 to 11 demographic. And he has 12 books. They're bestsellers. Very allegorical in nature. You know, he's a believer. But I call it Lord of the Rings, but with rabbits is what I call Green Ember.
Sold.
Yeah, I know. Please.
And so he and I've been talking for years. I mean, literally like 6 or 7 years about doing a feature film together, doing a series together. And then finally he came to me and he said, "Hey, let's do a video game together." And so that's what we did. And so we launched Brazen Games, a division of Brazen Animation, and we are launching our first video game as Brazen Games in October, which is really exciting.
And we're not talking about just interstitials, like animated interstitials to build a story, or you guys had to jump into actually learning how to make a game, right?
Right. Absolutely. It's all in Unreal, but it's all the game mechanics, all the cycles, all the levels, the boss fights, all the stuff. So we are on Steam. It's PC, Mac. We're porting to Switch now. We've already
so it's out right now. People can.
Well, it's in beta right now. Beta right now, and so officially it will be launched in October. But we built it for all these different platforms, which has been really obviously a learning experience in itself.
Yeah,
but really great.
This is so cool.
Well, I want to back up a little bit.
Yeah,
I knew you guys as. I feel like I knew you when I first heard about Brazen as a 2D studio. Was that a goal, or were you always like, nope, we're going to do both?
That the goal is to do both always, because now you understand why, knowing my background of being trained by Keith Lango and Ken Duncan.
Right.
Yeah.
But what happened was, this is so funny. What happened was we started hiring early on. Started hiring 3D CG artists. But we also had some 2D animators that were on staff that I brought on that could do both. They could do 2D and 3D. And some of our first jobs at Brazen were 2D animated jobs. So it doesn't surprise me that you knew us initially as a 2D studio, because that's some of the first stuff that we put out were 2D projects.
Well, including your little Brazen guy, your Ignacio.
Well, yeah, you chose to do that in 2D, so that kind of probably mentally made me think you were a 2D studio too.
Right, but it was funny because I just hired these CG artists, and I was like, wait a second, we're getting nothing but 2D projects. We've got to do some CG work, and so then we started putting out CG. So then that turned into 2D and 3D, and then what's been really cool is we do a lot of hybrid as well, like where we'll do like. 2D backgrounds with a CG character with 2D effects or something like that. Like just really, really fun hybrid work. So that's been great. And then even in Tempest, that teaser that we did for Tempest, it's all CG, and then there's a break in the middle there where it kind of tells like a little backstory on the main character, and it's all 2D. It's like a 2D flip book that happens in the middle of that teaser.
Oh, neat.
So that's actually within Tempest in the feature film. We want to do both 2D and 3D within that feature film as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. But your studio, knowing that it was founded and based on your Christian principles and things that you wanted to get out into the world that was faith-based, it's also surprising at how much you've done to, and I assume a lot of it is to stay alive, just to have, bring in income. You've done a ton of commercial work, hired for shows, hired for things. But now it feels like you're really kind of turning a corner into doing more faith-based content in a larger way. Do you think there's something going on in the world today that there seems to be more of that kind of content that people are looking for?
Yes, absolutely. I think, you guys we've all lived through this really difficult period. We'll call it starting 2020 and maybe before that, but 2020, clearly we were all locked down. There was, people are looking for hope, people are looking for inspiration, and then a lot of division has happened within the country as well, and all over the world. And I think people are looking for an anchor, and we'll call it an anchor for the soul, and something that is inspirational, that helps them look towards something larger than just what's happening on a daily basis within politics or the world and some of the struggles. And so I think when things get tough, people start to, whether they realize it or not, they start to yearn for something more. And I think it's the yearning of the soul to want stories, whether they're overtly faith-based or whether they're sort of like allegorical in nature, but something that is more meaningful and deeper and has truth.
Yeah.
And so I think that's absolutely what's happened. I think that the results of what's happened to the world is just this groaning that's happened all over the world for something more and something deeper.
Well, brother, you're preaching to the choir here. Tom and I have really enjoyed working on faith-based projects more recently too. But that I just feel like there's been a turning point, and I just kind of feel like, I don't know if it's just my head raising up out of the clouds a little bit, looking around and seeing a lot of different projects going on. And around Nashville area and Texas, there just seem to be more of those kind of things. But I wanted to ask you about the Chosen Adventures. So you guys, this is
speaking of which,
I know this is a big coup, I would say, for Brazen, that you guys are the mainstay designers, developers of a brand new CG animated series coming out very soon. It says 2025, so that's now. I mean, anytime, I'm sure.
And it's based on a very popular show that Angel did launch way back when, and called The Chosen, and that has blown up around the world. Honestly,
the live action version of that, and families and people around the world have been really gravitated to it. It's done incredibly well. And now this is kind of the spinoff for kids, right? Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're the hub studio, and to just come full circle, we're the hub studio, and Real Effects is the studio that is who we've been working with. Yeah.
Did you guys get to hire them? Let's just say it. Let's just say it for the record. You hired your old bosses.
Wait, no, I'm not gonna say it that way. I'm not gonna say it.
Because you guys are friendly. Yeah, for sure.
No, okay. we've had a great working relationship with them, right? Obviously going back and forth in the story and editorial, and so we've really enjoyed work. In fact, we got to see the initial screenings of the first 3 episodes that were finished together. So both Real Effects and Brazen, we came together and got to see the screening of the Chosen anime series.
The Chosen animated. I thought it was going to be live action.
Okay, premiere for it.
Yeah. So that was fantastic. And so it's we finished season 1, and we were about to start season 2, but then I don't know if you guys know, but they just Amazon, they took our first 3 episodes, they showed it to Amazon. Amazon loved them. Amazon said, we want it. And so now this first season is going to be on Amazon, and hopefully more, which would be great. And so our hope is that we can start season 2 very soon. And but it's great. So not to ruin the story for anyone, but there's a teaser and a trailer out already. But it's not just it's not doing The Chosen over again like the live action. It's actually it's these 2 kids, and it's watching Jesus and his ministry from their perspective.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen that. Yeah, Jesus shows up from time to time, at least, right?
Right.
I don't know if
and it's the same
episode.
voices too, right? Aren't they using the same actors to lend their voices to the characters?
Correct. Yeah, Jonathan Rumi, he's still Jesus, and yeah, absolutely, that's right.
Yeah,
and so it's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really smart too, though, to kind of take the the crowd with them, the crowd that already loves the Chosen live action series, and say, hey, here's a way to kind of integrate you into this, start sharing it with your kids. It's really smart. I'm happy for you guys. And the style is very unique. You guys went a totally different route. And we've had Thomas Flaherty on our show, and he was talking about, being a character designer on that series.
Yeah.
And just and Sam Mitchlap, right?
Sam is phenomenal, guys. He is amazing. I love Sam. Sam did a great job, and yeah, he's
production design. Is he a production designer?
Production design and art director. I mean, he was really involved. He was heavily involved, and so he's just extremely talented. As you
and
guys
so
know.
you guys put that team together, though, right? Because you did all that development work.
Working with them along with 5 and 2 and Out of Order Studios they're the ones that do the live action portion of The Chosen. And so getting to work with those guys. So think of it like The Chosen guys came to us and Real Effects, and then put all that together so we could all work together. And so that was actually one of the great things about it is that, and I had talked to you about this, Tony, about just having sometimes studios will kind of go in their corner and work on their own stuff by themselves.
Yeah.
But what I was really pleased with this relationship is the fact that, them pulling us in and saying, hey, we all want to work together on this. And that's what I think we're supposed to do. I think, as I would say, everyone should work together. Everyone should collaborate, but Christians don't. A lot of times, Christians don't work together for some reason, and I don't. Really
I know. It's very, very weird. Yeah.
And so in this case, Christians did all work together on this together, and so I just that was amazing thing.
I mean, let's be honest. It's hard for
Tom. I'm singing. We're better together.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That needed to be said. Thank you, Tony. No, but I mean, you could say that with artists too. Honestly, it's not just Christians. Like, artists are not so great at working together either, and that's what makes animation so hard. It's such a collaborative effort. Yeah. Many that come from art schools, and we saw this in our internship way back when, that were more fine artists kind of motivated or thought, or even illustration. That's a very just me kind of a path, usually, that kind of art. And they didn't do so hot. Some of them really dropped out because they didn't really like doing that heavily interactive, working alongside each other. I'm going to draw a line, you're going to finish it kind of mentality that animation has.
Absolutely. We know there's that old African proverb, which is like, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. Right? Is that?
I love that. Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
That's in a movie.
That was in The Lion King. I think it was.
It was Lion King. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah.
That's where that comes from. Right. That was probably Lion King.
No, that was Jeffrey Katzenberg's philosophy about making money on The Lion King, I think.
Yeah. Right.
We want to go fast or far, or we want to make all the money. Yeah, we want to make the money.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Faster, cheaper. Yeah.
but one thing, I mean, you guys, since you worked on it, you know this already, but one of the reasons I love that movie so much is because that it wasn't an overtly faith-based film. However, there's so many things about that, like literally, like, remember who you are, and you see your image in the see your Father lives in you.
Yeah.
And then there's so many things about it that can be allegorical or metaphor in nature that I love about that. I mean, the same reason why I don't know if Glenn talked to you. I think Glenn talked to you about this, Glenn Keane. But like I talked to Glenn about that last scene in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
He had no time to animate that.
Yeah.
And he basically was like, well, I have to show this beast transforming, and he treated it as if it was a very spiritual, like being renewed in Christ and all those things. I think that's, even though those things weren't overtly faith-based, you can feel that when you watch those movies and those scenes, you can feel it come through.
There's an emotional core, and that's one thing that Glenn taught us. And I'm going to say this is kind of a universal truth that Glenn taught people in animation, is that we don't just move things around. We bare our souls. We put ourselves into the performance. And it was always his kind of acting, motto that we should always put ourselves into our characters. But for him, he always took it to that. He puts his soul into his characters, into his work. And I feel like that's what makes him so unique. And he's the biggest rock star in animation. Let's face it. Yeah. We talk about him in almost every episode where we name drop Glenn Keane more than anybody. But now we're gonna name drop Bryan Engram all the time for sure.
This will be our new one.
This is we'll go, oh, that's such a Bryan Engram. What you just said. Oh my god!
What Bryan Engram just told me recently? Yes,
I was talking to Bryan the other day, and everybody's gonna know. They're just gonna know who that is.
You guys are amazing. I appreciate you.
We're making fun of you, but we're also, we're also lifting you up, Bryan.
So I'm hearing to get back to the podcast. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
Do you have any more singing you wanted to? Don't.
No. I do have,
but no, I know you do. So, Bryan, you kind of hinted. It sounds like they haven't greenlit a second season yet, but
not yet. But they're. I mean, it's like
Chosen.
Yeah, it's like right there. It's right there. So,
and what was your first season? How many nowadays? It's so hard to say.
13 11s to start. Yeah.
Okay.
First season.
That's healthy.
Yeah, and so as you expect, that's going to continue to grow as time goes on. So
something like that becomes your bread and butter. I mean, it's not your own IP. You don't own it, but you're making consistent money, having worked on it, and you're employing your staff. Now that gives you some ability to now move forward, maybe with your own IP. Is that already starting to happen? Is that what we're talking about with that studio or the Angel Studios thing? What was the name of your original?
The Tempest?
The Tempest.
Tempest, yeah. Uh-huh.
So that's the next. Are you already starting to move forward, hopefully developing that?
Yes. So we've done a ton in pre-production already on that film. I mean, that I wouldn't say pre-production is done, but it's close.
Did you do some proof of concept animation that I saw a while back?
We did.
Yeah, really nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, appreciate that very much. Thank you.
And that's on the website. I want to say that for the fans out there, brazenanimation.com. Just look under originals and you'll see what we're talking about.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So we have that. We also have I mean, just like you guys, we have many pieces of intellectual property that we've been developing. So we have a YouTube kids show that's in development right now. And then we have a video game that's in development. So we're not spreading ourselves too thin. We're picking our spots, but that is definitely internally, to your point, Tony, we have the service work is a blessing. Like I have to always say that because that is what's kept us alive and kept us in business.
It's the bread and butter. Yeah.
The bread and butter. But it is what allows us to continue to develop our IP so that eventually hopefully sooner rather than later, we can get our own IP out there.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that always the dream? I mean, Tom, he has his own studio right now, Pencil Studios. I had my own studio back in the day, and it was always about wanting to get to that position where you can actually fund and make what you want to make. That's the dream. And I feel like you guys are so close, and you've been doing a lot of great things on the side already. You've been doing a lot of development and following your heart. And even a lot of these work for hire projects seem to be very close to your heart too. They're right up your alley, faith-based projects.
Yeah,
it's an exciting time.
You've gotten some juicy stuff through the years, that's for sure. A lot of these video game animatics and things like that you're doing, or commercials, I guess, that are kind of higher end. That's nice work.
I appreciate that very much. Yes, that there's in fact, I have a quote on my desk if I could find it. Actually, here it is. It's
only take work that pays well.
No, actually,
follow the dollar.
No, it's a great quote. I don't know who to attribute it to. Actually, I think there's several people that have claimed it, but excellence honors God and inspires people.
Oh,
and
awesome.
Like that.
And so I've always thought that if we can do excellent work, and especially if it has work that has meaning, it's going to inspire people. And then there's another quote that is actually by the famous comedian, what I forgot his name, Steve Martin. Steve Martin has a quote which is "Be so good they can't ignore you."
I've heard that quote. I like
that one a lot. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And so whether it's our service work or whether it's our IP, I mean, that is the goal, is to, as best we can with the budget that we have, how can we make this excellent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've been doing it home run after home run. And I must admit, I'm surprised it's taken this long that you get your own series. And I'm calling it your own, but the Chosen Adventures coming your way like that is still a pretty big coup. You know, that your feature film, because you did an amazing proof of concept back in the day. And I know that was years ago, right? We're gonna say at least 5 to 8 years ago that I saw it. That deserved to have immediately got a green light because it was excellent, you know. So Steve Martin's a little bit wrong, but because you've been doing excellence and it just takes a while sometimes, right?
It does take a while. You know, I'd like to talk to my team about this, not to depress them at all, but just more to. So you guys know, but I'll give you just a quick historical quiz on. So Walt Disney, from the time Walt started to Snow White coming out, do you know how long it took? How many years?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to say 5 years.
15 years.
15. Yeah. See, people don't talk about that, right?
No. So
because it was Snow White was 40 something, wasn't it? Or 38?
38.
But that's when it came out, and then you got to back up before that.
You got to back up before that, right?
So wait, are you talking about Silly Symphony or all his other stuff that he did before he did Snow White, or how long Snow White took?
Well, no, I'm talking about like 1923 is when Disney was officially, the Disney that we know was officially founded. Remember, he went bankrupt like 3 times before that, right? So so that's what I'm saying, 1923 to Snow White. Okay, so then there's so from the time that Pixar was started as a division of Lucasfilm to Toy Story, how many years do you think?
Oh man, I'm gonna say that's probably closer to 12 years.
10 or 15?
Again,
15 years.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, Brian, is that you're on track to beat both John Lasseter and Walt Disney.
Very sure. I want to be one of them, Tony. I'm only 5 years in, so I got 10 more years.
But you know what? You're right, Brian. I think there's something to be said for that. Well, one, from the standpoint of like, we don't think about. We always think these studios and big people are like overnight successes. But on top of it, it's like, no, maybe there's something too that you got to go through those trials and tribulations, try things. It doesn't work out, get back up, keep going. It's commendable. I think any studio that's been around over 10 years is very commendable. Tom's still going. He's going to get there. You're going to get there.
Brian, I just typed this in. Do you know how long it took Jim Henson to come up with the Muppets?
No.
I don't believe that he knows.
Miraculously, 15 years.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
I didn't either. I haven't checked, but we should check that.
No,
do you know how long it took the VeggieTales to be created from the point that they started?
Yeah, like they did 6 months or something like that. They were like,
yeah.
I don't know, candy bars. No,
they had a
let's go.
Cucumber. Yeah, it was probably like 2 minutes. But anyway.
Yeah. No, but even Blue Sky. So when Blue Sky started to what, Ice Age, 16 years.
Oh, really?
What?
Yeah. To Ice Age.
Wow. Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So, there's no such thing as an overnight success.
That's right. And that's what's so crazy to me is that we hear about people and it seems like they came out of nowhere, and then you actually start looking at their story and you're like, oh wait, they've been at this for a while.
Yeah. You know, they always say that there's no such thing as an overnight success, but also you see that with a lot of YouTubers and stuff like that are huge right now. They're like, no, I was doing it for 10 years. You hadn't even heard of YouTube yet. That's all. I was like early on it, you know?
Right. Well, we got to wrap up, Brian, but we want to thank you so very much for your time today with us talking about Brazen. So inspirational. Can't wait to see Brazen Animation at Animation, y'all, because we're going to force him to go and be there.
Yes.
And
and I want to throw in that we've heard from Sam Mitchlap and Thomas Flowerty, and they both are coming.
Great.
So,
oh, that's fantastic.
So you won't be alone. You'll know some folks there, and you'll know us.
Yes.
And we'll give you a booth. And actually, I'm trying to plan this a little bit of I don't even know if I should say. Let me talk to Tom about it first. But I have plans for a Saturday night event that I think you guys could be incorporated in. It'll be a lot of fun.
Love that.
So
24 hours, make an animated short.
The Brazen way.
That's it. I love that. That's great. No, that's great. No, but
you
I'm
run
excited.
the show. We're gonna make a little short film in a weekend.
Okay. that sounds great. No, I'm excited. Thank you guys for having me very much. I appreciate both of you. And
thank you, Bryan.
And you guys know I admire you both. I've just the things you've done in your career, and I look, as brothers in Christ too, especially in this industry, is looking up to you very much. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
You, Bryan.
Well, hire us sometime. Gosh,
yeah.
darn.
Oh, yeah.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah. We've never worked together.
That's
anyway,
right.
We'll talk offline about that.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Bryan, for being here with us. And Tom, as we always say, animate from the heart.
If you like what you just saw, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Pencilish Studios.